Hello, today I'm going to talk about some of the sacraments in the church and basically how they enslave you. So, the first sacrament I'm going to talk about is baptism, obviously. And basically, baptism is when a person gets into the water and then they come out and then they're a member of this community. That's essentially what the sacrament of baptism is in various church communities. And now I grew up Catholic, so I'm probably most familiar with the Catholic sacrament, which is just, put a few drops of water on a baby's head or something like that, and it's not like a big deal. And I know in some traditions they have like a full immersion baptism where people like go totally underwater for their for joining the church. And I think like people do this. They have these baptisms. They go in the water. They're like, okay, now that person is a member of the community, and that's like basically what it's supposed to mean. And I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've come to the realization that, when you're joining a community, in some sense, this sounds really bad, but you're actually destroying a piece of yourself, because you're not like a separate person anymore. You're just like a member of this group that's supposed to take care of you or whatever. But in another sense, it's like you're joining a culture, basically, and culture is cult. So essentially the baptism is the joining of a cult. So when you go underwater, people breathe air, and when they go underwater, they can't breathe in the water because then they would drown. So it's kind of like this symbolism of death. And the water represents emotions. So there's this idea that you're just kind of immersed in these emotions. And then when you come back out of that, you're not really the same, because you're like, now you're part of this group. And so I know a lot of times in the pagan communities and in certain Satanist and left-hand path communities, sometimes people are like, well, I got baptized, and how can I undo that baptism? Because, I was in this cult and I got baptized, and I was part of this community, and how do I escape that? Because, it was like a part of myself is just kind of, part of this group now. And I don't necessarily have any easy answers for that, because I only have, difficult answers for that, because I did it the hard way. And I really wouldn't want anybody else to have to do it the hard way. But essentially, it's, because it's essentially a death and a rebirth kind of thing. That's why they talk about like the born again Christians. It's, if you want to undo it, you have to die. And not like literally, you don't literally have to die, but it's it's really crossing over this threshold. It's not like you just say, oh, I'm done with this group, and then you're just done with it. Because there's always that oh, I belong to this community or whatever. So I guess one of the disturbing things I've seen recently is I was watching this video where Mormons have the baptism for the dead. And I thought, well, now people are like dead and they're baptizing like dead people into the, into their cult. But basically, they had somebody like stand in for the dead person and get baptized like in their place, and they were like really quick about it, because just thinking about that is like that person actually switching places with a dead person, when they get baptized, and just I guess thinking about it kind of gives me the creeps a little bit, because that thinking that could really be happening. And I guess basically that's my take on baptism, is that it's a crossing of a threshold.